And as a story, it reads, as a doctor, I want to be able to initiate the loan application process so that loan processing can kick off. And the acceptance criteria reads, this must be accessible to all doctors from ttbank.com/el. A successful load of this URL should present list of all 4 portals. Doctors will then click the provider portal and select application initiator. Doctors should also be able to access from the main websites, from portals as a menu item. They can select provider portal and then application initiator. When clicked on application initiator, a new page appear with fields requiring the following to be filled. First name, last telephone number. When the doctor acquired the needed answers for the fields, there should be an initiator button to be clicked so that the borrower can receive a text message or an email with a URL or a link that the borrower can click to provide certain vital details in order to get the application process started. Additional information here, where when the borrower clicks on the URL, another page termed as the secured page should open. On the secure page, borrowers should have a button that says send code. When clicked or tapped, an OTP should be sent to the phone number and email address provided by the borrower. Given the OTP has been sent, there should be another box on the secure page that will require the borrower to input the OTP for confirmation. The OTP should be a 6-digit code, and the OTP should be sent within 15 seconds. The secured page should have a link that would direct borrowers to the borrower portal as well. I hope I'm still on. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Okay. We can hear you.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. The next story is number of support. Okay, and then that also, as a story, says, as a doctor, I want to be able to view the number of people on support so that I can monitor progress. The acceptance criteria, aside assessing it from ttbank.com/el, and then also from the menu, from the portal menu, the fourth criteria reads, given I am a doctor, when I select number of support, I should be redirected to a fresh page that presents me with a list of borrowers that are on support. The total number of borrowers should be written in a box at the mid bottom of the screen. The list must be arranged in the order by making use of the dates applied. When clicked on the name of a borrower, a new pop-up box should open and display full name of borrower, amount, application date, and then dates issued. That's the date the money was actually issued into the borrower's account for the procedure. There should be a checkbox by each borrower's name where specified individuals could be selected to view details. So the checkbox should be there so that specified number of borrowers could be checked and view their details at a go. And given I'm a doctor, there should also be a search feature where I can search for a particular individual. These data must be available in CSV format where providers can extract a number of borrowers at a go. Hence, there should be an extraction feature where data can be extracted on the same screen. So that's for the number of support. Procedure dates. So as a story, as a doctor, I want to be able to view scheduled procedure dates so that I can prepare. And it also start from the accessibility standpoint. That is the portal menu, and then the ttbank.com/EL as the main accessibility point. And then it continues from the fourth criteria, which reads, given a doctor clicks on procedure date, there should be a newly opened page with 2-column table. The first column should be labeled applicant name, and the second column should be labeled at procedure date. The table should then display a list of patients with their procedure dates. Only the closest procedure date should be placed first and in that order. Procedure date must not exceed 60 days from the scheduled date. This must have a generate button where data could be generated in PDF as well as procedure date. And then status on procedures as a story. Okay, so as a story, as a doctor, I want to be able to see status on procedures so that I can be updated. And then also from the acceptance criteria standpoint, still beginning with accessibility standpoint, being the ttbank.com/EL, and then also from the portal menu, continue to the fourth criteria, which says, given a doctor clicks on procedure status, there should be a newly open page with a list of all applicants and their status next to their names on the left-hand side. That status precedes applicant name in a box. Performed procedure must read performed as status description and yet to when not performed. Doctors should be able to filter only performed or yet to procedures by making use of a filter with a drop down of performed or yet to option. Given a procedure bears the wrong status, doctors should be able to make changes by selecting from performed and yet to drop down feature and click on save changes, which must be placed next to each applicant's name at the right-hand side. So that's it for the status on procedures. Okay, and then annual budget. Okay, so as a story, it says, as a doctor, I want to be able to see the annual amount allocated so that I can stay within budget actually. And then it also starts from the accessibility standpoint as a acceptance criteria, being the ttbank.com/EL, and then the portal as well, and continues down to giving a doctor clicks on annual budget, there should be a newly opened page which should bear the inscription, your annual budgeted amount of 500,000 has been approved and released. Kindly disperse to patients when needed. This must have the signature of the accountant and his full name. When not approved on the same screen, the inscription should read, your annual budgeted amount of 500,000 has not been approved and released as at this date. Kindly contact lender if urgent. Doctors should be able to view annual budget on the screen, and doctors should also be able to see the approval status as well on this screen. And then disbursement. Okay, so as a doctor, I want to be able to see the amount disbursed so that I can stay within the budget. And it also starts with its criteria from the accessibility standpoint through to point number 4, which says when doctors click on the disbursement menu, they should be redirected to a new page which will show disbursement in a T-ledger table-like presentation. On the T-ledger table, the total amount of 500,000 should be on the debit side with the narration balance received. Amount disbursed should be on the credit side with narrations being the borrower's name. At the end of each financial period, the total amount of credit should be equal to the total amount received on the debit side of the T-ledger account. Where there are excess, it will be treated as balance carried down the next financial year. So that will be for the disbursement feature. And then the procedure profit report. Okay, so as a doctor, I want to be able to run reports on profits made so that I know the amount due me, and also begins from the accessibility standpoint. To point number 4, when doctors click on the procedure profit report menu, they should be redirected to a new page which will show a list of procedures, total amount paid, profits made as a provider. There should total. There should be a total. The profit sharing ratio is 20:80. Providers take provider takes the 20. Hence, the profit amount shown should only be the provider's 20%. Doctors should be able to extract this file in CSV format. There should also be a generate button where data can be generated in PDF. Per the recent stakeholder requirements, application page won't be necessary here, so I won't take you through that. I'll take you to another epic. So let's look at the borrower portal. Okay, so with that as an epic, to assist sick patients secure financial aids and additional information, this must be accessible to only borrowers. The URL sent by the provider at the initial stage should have a link that directs borrowers to this portal. On this portal, borrowers were required to create an account, providing their valid email address and their preferred password. Passwords must be at least 8 characters long and include at least a number and a symbol. Usernames must be alphanumeric and at least 5 characters long. Example, Kofi25. It must be chosen or created by applicant. After account is successfully created, there should be a new login box in order for borrowers to log in. Given I am a borrower, I can only access with my special username and password created. Borrowers should be able to access from the main website. It should be amongst the list of items on the main website as well. That's speaking from the accessibility standpoint. And still, borrowers should also be able to see this borrower portal from ttbank.com/ when they type this URL. I have 4 stories linked to it. I have the first one is money owed. Okay, so as a borrower, I will want to know the amount of money left to be paid so that I can plan ahead. And the criteria, I still started from the accessibility standpoint to the 4th point, which says when borrowers click on money owed menu, they should be redirected to a new page, which will present them the total amount boldly written in a box. Beneath the box should also be a tab that says click here for payment history. So given I am a borrower, when I click, I should see list of all payments made. Payment history should show the amount paid, date paid, and then also the payment method that was used for that particular transaction. And then signed document. Okay, as a borrower, I want to be able to view signed documents so that I can be reminded on agreement terms. Still from the accessibility standpoint, be starting from that angle to the fourth point, which says when borrowers click on application forms on the application forms menu, they should be redirected to a new page which will show the form filled by the provider and signed by the borrower. Okay, so like I said per the recent stakeholder interaction, the application page won't be needed. So we're just going to ignore the refer to application page. And the fifth criteria says there should be a brief note that says this become the legal document on which the loan can be released or withheld. Kindly contact us on 800-778-6422 for all forms of clarity. There should be a download feature where borrower can download PDF formats of signed documents. And then the payment terms. Okay, so as a borrower, I want to be able to make changes to payment terms so that I can meet my financial needs. And also from the accessibility standpoint, being the beginning of my acceptance criteria, to the criteria number 4, which says when borrowers click on payment terms menu, they should be redirected to a new page, which will introduce them to the assigned customer service representatives. His contact number and email address will be made available. There should be this inscription, the inscription that reads, kindly contact your customer service representative to help schedule a session to discuss payment terms. That is either virtual or in person. Payment terms will not be made. So per the recent stakeholder meet interaction, there were some specifics here which I'll correct. But this was done before I think that was Tuesday. So I stated payment terms will not be available on the screen unless discussed either virtually or in person with the so the borrower gets to meet the customer rep, and then they can together go through the various payment terms available, and then the borrower can select which one best suits him or her, and then that from that standpoint it will be made available on this screen, and then also agreed and payment terms will be uploaded at signed documents. So like I stated, refer to signed documents. So when it's been agreed on and then the borrower signs, it will be added to the signed document that the borrower had already signed. And then the last one here is payment. Okay, so as a borrower, I want to be able to select the preferred method of payment so that I can make payment. And I also started with the criteria from the accessibility standpoint to the to the fourth point, which is when doctors click on payment menu, they should be redirected to a new page which will show briefly lists of preferred methods of payment available, namely Visa card, Visa MasterCard, PayPal, Zelle, Android Pay, Apple Pay. On that same screen, beneath the list of payment methods, should have a drop-down feature which says click here to select preferred method of payment. There should be a save feature to ensure the preferred method of payment is saved. That is after it's been selected or it's been changed by the borrower. Selected payment option become the payment model to be used for subsequent payments. Given I am a borrower, I should be able to change payment methods as and when necessary. Given I'm a borrower, when I select the favorable payment method, I will want to be able to proceed to make payment from this feature. As a borrower, when I want to make payment, I will want to see another button at the lower part of the screen, which says click here. It's supposed to be tap on to make payment. When tapped on or selected, I should be able to provide my secured banking details in order to make payments. Successful payment should bring a success message that says payment successful. Receipts will be sent to you via email. Thanks. So that will be it for the borrower portal. Let me take you through the servicer portal. Hello, I hope you can hear me. I hope I've not lost you today. Hello?
We can hear you. Copy.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Please
okay.
continue.
We can hear you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the servicer portal also reads, this is to grant customer service representatives access details of loans and the additional information here. This must be accessible to all customer service representatives from the main web page. It should be among the list of items on the main website menu. When selected, should show the following as submenus: pending loans, pending application, profit report, provider loan report, report on money spent, and this must be neatly arranged. And I have 5 linked stories. The first one is pending loans. So as a customer service representative, I will want to be able to see pending loans so that approved loans can be processed.
So Govi, I'm gonna give you about 1 minute, right?
Okay, all right, yeah. So also with the criteria, starting from the accessibility standpoint, I think the third point, given I'm a customer service representative, I should be able to access all pending loans when I click on the pending loans button. When I click on a specific pending loan, I should see applicant name, amount, application date, procedure type, social security number, respective bank accounts, FICO scores. This must be detailed in a table. Given a borrower has been successful at FICO test, at the FICO test, I will want to be able to allot payment to release funds to the respective account. When a borrower has failed the FICO test at this point, a brief note that says, dear applicant, your application for a loan of say $200 or the specific amount for your ISAVE with a specific procedure has not been successful at this point. Thanks for reaching out. Should be sent by text message and email to the borrower. FICO status should read approved, denied, and need further review. But the recent stakeholder interaction need further review will not be there. It's just going to be approved and denied. So I'll just get rid of that. And then pending applications. Okay, so as a customer service representative, I will want to be able to see all pending applications so that they can be processed. Also from the accessibility standpoint, being my initial acceptance criteria to the third and then the fourth. Given I'm a customer service representative, I should be able to access all pending applications when I click on the pending applications button. When I click on specific pending application, I should see applicant's name, email address, amount, application date, the procedure type, social security number, respective bank account, signed application document, reason why application is still pending. And this they have to be arranged in a table to make it easy to read. Given I'm a customer service representative, I want to be able to initiate FICO's investigation at this point to assess credibility by providing borrower's and social security number and bank details in a dialog box tied to FICO officials. So that will be for the pending applications. Profit reports. Okay. So the story says, as a customer service representative, I want to be able to generate profit reports.
I'm going to pause you here, and then when we have time, sometime early next week, I know some of you did not really, talk through the stories, to the very end. Sometime somewhere next week, we're going to have a pop quiz, and then during that day, we'll take some time to do a quick, user story workshop. So in that workshop, I will take some time to address some of my observation. I'll take some time to address some observation with your user stories, and also give people some time to talk us out through some of the stories that they didn't get to finish, right? So we'll do that. So let's start from here. How many minutes do I have? Maybe I should start with the database, stuff. I think I should start with the database stuff, or maybe I should talk to the agile ceremonies, and maybe if I have some time, I'll do that. Okay, so we've been talking about agile ceremonies. You guys are familiar with agile ceremonies right now. If I, do like a roundtable and start asking questions, I know you guys will be able to tell me all these ceremonies and their definitions and meanings and what we actually do when this meeting is live, right? So I know you guys are great with this, but when I know the only one that you guys know by definition, okay, we will have this done, we will get this done. Daily stand-up meeting is a daily meeting where we get together as a team, and then we talk about statuses, what individual team members they're working on, and so on and so forth. It's all great, but we need to do more than that. So I will start off with the daily stand-up meeting, which you guys all know, all right? So in a typical, calendar, I have a little calendar over here. Some of my days were kind of, well, I have my Monday to Friday, which is good. So we can still use this. So in a typical, calendar, as you guys can see, for February 2021, right? We have Monday the 1st as the first day of the month. So in a typical calendar year, we will have daily stand-up meeting. So Monday to Friday, right? Monday to Friday, every morning. Usually places that I've worked in the past, places that I consult for, even currently. Typically, this is done before noon, right? It is always done before noon. So that means done before 12 p.m. 95% of the time, I can even boldly say that 99% of the time, it is done at, or the meeting is held at 9:30 a.m. right? Now, 99% of the time, this meeting, which is the daily stand-up meeting, is held 9:30 a.m. in the morning. If you ask me why they do 9:30 a.m. for most places that I've seen, and most people will tell you that is a time that usually the team will get together. Now, all of these things does not mean that it cannot happen at different times. Sometimes you might be working with an organization, and they will have their team members across the world, right? They'll have offshore teams in Vietnam, in India, in Philippines, elsewhere. That's the point I want to make, right? The team could be anywhere in the world, and so you guys, you'll be working with a distributor team, a global distributor team. So that means your time zones for some of these events and meetings, it can be a little bit challenging. It can be rough sometimes, right? And so sometimes you'll have to, get up at night. Sometimes you have to get up early in the morning to catch up with the team. So, for instance, if you have a team in India, it's almost like 10 hours or something, not less than 10 hours difference, right? So once you are getting in or starting your day like in the morning, like say 7 a.m., it's almost like 5:30 p.m. for them. They're almost out of the office. They're going home, right? So you need to catch up. I remember back in the days when I was consulting for Nissan, Nissan Motor Corporation, the car maker. I had a team in Tokyo, and I used to catch up with a team at night, like 10 p.m., right? 10 p.m. was like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in Tokyo, right? And so you have to keep in mind, the time zone difference and how you sync up with the team. It's not going to be every day that you sync up with the team, especially when you are leading. You'll be leading an offshore team. It's not every day, but for this particular team and the time zone difference, I needed to sometimes catch up with them 9 p.m. My local time, sometimes 10 p.m. my local time, to be able to catch up with them like in the morning to sync up with them. And I've worked with different teams as well. I worked with UBS, Union Bank of Switzerland, as well. I had a team in Zurich, I had a team in London as well. Same thing, you have to catch up with them. Almost, meeting my business analyst was almost impossible. I remember I had a guy in Zurich those days, and by the time that I'll get into office like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning, he's gone, right? He was doing something else. It was really tough, challenging, but it was exciting though. Again, I had a team in India. I've worked with different offshore teams. In after India, a lot of it, right? I have a lot of stories to tell. Working with and leading offshore teams in India, from Bangalore to Hyderabad, Chennai, and the rest, different cities across India, different offshore teams that I've led. Is that the same thing? You have to get up in the morning, sometimes 7, it's like 5:30 p.m. So, 10 and a half hours difference. By the time you are starting your day in the morning in America, they're almost out of the office, right? So you needed to sync up with them. So daily stand-up meeting, the point I want to make is that you're not going to have one time, not one solution or one size fit all, type of thing. But usually, the point of it is that when you start early in the morning, and when there are problems and issues, you're able to escalate, you're able to get them resolved, right? Rather than have a meeting at 4:30 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. or 5, we are almost out. For me, I even close by 5. I was working, right? I start early so I can, end early. So if you having a stand-up meeting, imagine having a stand-up meeting at maybe 3:30 or maybe 4 p.m. You have only 1 hour left, for people to leave. Some people have even left, by 4. So if you escalate in something that is critical, how are you going to escalate and how are you going to resolve it, right? So the point of it is that we should have it as early as possible so that team members can work or issues can be addressed by the needed or the person of point contact who can resolve that issues for them. right? It's very important. So keep that in mind. So usually by 9 a.m., by 9:30 a.m. in America, over here in continental US, like, that's the time that we have our daily stand-up meetings, right? Let's talk about, I'm going to skip to talk about retrospective meeting. So we talk about retro meetings. It's a very important ceremony when it comes to agile methodology and agile, framework, right? When you're developing application. Now, retro meetings again affords us the opportunity to look back to what we have done, and then look back to our mistakes and correct them and improve. It's just a way. I think it's one of the beautiful and wonderful things about the agile methodology or framework, for us to always, continuously improve, continuously get better as a team. It promotes and it fosters, teamwork among ourselves. So retro meetings, when must this happen? So usually we've talked about a sprint. I'm not going to ask you guys, but get ready. There's going to be a pop quiz sometime soon. So usually a sprint, right? In a typical Scrum methodology or framework, we have 2 weeks iteration. So 2 weeks iteration, let's say we start development work from the 1st of February, as you guys can see from the calendar over here. From the 1st of February, so that means that sprint will end where? On the 12th here, right? On the 12th of February. So that means by the 15th, if it's a holiday for you, President's Day is not a holiday for every company. But it's holiday for most companies. It's also a holiday, especially for people that work in the finance domain and Wall Street. Anytime Wall Street is shut down, as they're taking a break, observing a holiday, that means banking and finance folks, domains folks, they also most of the time, not all of them, but sometimes some good chunk of the domain leading industries or organizations, they're also off. So the sprint ends on the 12th of February, right? What happens? On the 15th, we're starting a new sprint, okay? I want you guys to keep in mind, that's how the sprint cycle rolls, right? So first, we start a new sprint, development teams start developing, they start assigning stories to themselves and blah, blah, blah. And then by the 12th, the point of it is that that sprint should end. And then by the 15th, we start in another sprint. So let's say from the 1st to the 12th is sprint 5. Sprint 6 start from 15th to 26th, right? All right, you guys get it right. So from 15th to 22nd, 26th, that is where sprint 6, is going to happen. So, development work will start again. They'll pick up stories from the sprint backlog, a new sprint. They start working, and by 26, that sprint is done. So by the following week, whatever date is going to be, then sprint 7 is also going to happen, right? Let me talk about sprint planning and kickoff meeting. Sprint planning and kickoff meeting. So when do we have a sprint planning kickoff meeting? So at the beginning of every sprint, so typically like on the 1st and the 15th, we'll have sprint kickoff meeting. Usually the daily stand-up meeting time is used as sprint kickoff and sprint planning, planning meeting. So what do we do at that time? It's a new sprint, and of course, you guys don't have statuses. Sometimes you can have statuses because there might be stories that are going to elapse. That's going to lap over between the two stories. Maybe somebody didn't get to finish with a story by day 12 over here, and then when we come on to 15, that we have a sprint plan and kickoff for the new sprint, we might ask the status of that issue that is still pending in the bucket that we didn't finish, right? So there might be 1 or 2 statuses, but typically all statuses for the previous sprint should have ended, right here with sprint 12, right? And then a new sprint will kick off right here at the 15th and then the 1st, okay? So what are we doing at the sprint plan and kickoff meeting? So usually we're talking about, okay, this sprint, we have this number of stories, this is what we're going to work on. That is the typical thing that happens, right? The typical scenario, typical day. And then in the morning of our sprint planning and kickoff, talk about it, so yeah, we have this sprint, we have story ID 1425 is about this, story ID 750 story ID this, story ID that. We'll talk about all the stories that are going to work on for that particular sprint, right? For that specific sprint. Talk about all of it. And then not only that, we also do the assigning of the stories. So usually the developers will pick up the stories and assign it to themselves. They'll look at it. When the team members, when they work together for some time, they know their abilities, right? They know what they're capable of. So the developer John might pick up story 1.4, 1.5, in Jira. Developer James might pick up this. Developer Mary might pick up another story as well. Developer Kofi might pick up something else, and then developer Ebenezer might pick up something else, and then the sprint starts, right? It starts working. So they will assign stories to themselves, and then what do we do? What do we see? The sprint has kicked off. We've started the sprint, right? So the sprint is in motion. The sprint is in flight. So for the next 14 days, that is when the current sprint that's in flight is going to end. So we start off sprint 6, sprint 7, sprint whatever, sprint 15, sprint 17, sprint 26, whatever that you might get into the project, whatever sprint that you're on, you will know, right? So it will take off, get going. It's going to go all the way to the 14th date, and then that's it. It'll come to an end, right? Now, that is sprint planning and kickoff, right? Talk about stories, assign it, and then that's it. We spend some time talking about this, and we're done. Let me go back to the other stories as well. Sprint telling, storytelling and estimation, great. So storytelling and estimation, this can happen any day within the sprint. So let's say we are in sprint 5. Sprint is between February 1st and then 12, right? So storytelling estimation, we can have estimation meeting anytime. It can be scheduled on the 3rd, it can be scheduled on the 4th, it can be scheduled on the 9th. It can happen any day, but usually it might typically not happen on the 1st because team members are trying to find their feet on the new stories that they've assigned, and they need to start developing work. So we might want to give them a break, and then maybe on a Wednesday or even the Tuesday afternoon, we can schedule the PO. That is you, right? You coordinate with the Scrum Master. Sometimes it's you who's going to be responsible for that. Sometimes the Scrum Master will be the one that is responsible for that. But keep that in mind. I want to get you guys to a level you guys can take up that work as well, that responsibility as well. So Tuesday, you can schedule a 30-minute 1 hour, you put on the calendar, you invite all the development team and QAs and everybody involved in the team. And then for storytelling estimation meeting, usually you talk about the stories that you've written. So whilst you're writing stories, whilst you're doing all those things, you're going to be bringing the story up for estimation. So storytelling is just, narrating, telling them the story. So story that you have written for, the donate feature. Okay, as a user, I want to be able to do this as storytelling. You're narrating, you're telling them what the story is about, right? So after that, they will intend, respond, and what are they doing? They will estimate the story. They will look at it. They'll look at all the pieces involved. They'll look at all the conditions that must happen to fulfill this story to what we call DOD, definition of done. And then they will say, this story, looking at the complexity, looking at this, looking at the value, looking at all the things that might be involved, the dependencies, it's a 3-point story. It's a 5-point story. So that's what, typically will happen. So they will look at it, and then they will estimate and say, yeah, looking at all the story, the things that you've said about it, looking at all the phases. Some people might ask questions, 1 or 2, and then, they will estimate, right? So they will estimate and say, looking at the story, it's a 2-point story. It's a what? This is a 5-point story. And then that's it. You assign it to that scenario or that user story. You assign the story point to it. And then that's it. You move on to the next one, right? So you do that, and then until you've exhausted all the stories that you have for that, storytelling and estimation. You can, usually, bring, adequate, an ample size story to this type of ceremony, so that you don't waste anybody's time. So you can have the storytelling estimation maybe twice in the sprint, right? Or even sometimes even twice a week. As you write stories, make sure that you are scheduling some of these storytelling estimation meetings, so that it's on their calendar. They know that every Thursday, from 2 to 3, or maybe from 3 p.m. to 4, or 3 to 3:30, they have a meeting on the calendar that says estimation meeting. You can have this on. The rule of thumb here is that you're going to have this meeting set up so that it's on your calendar all the time. So that every week, every Thursday, every Wednesday, at this set time, you guys will get together and you guys will do storytelling estimation. You have estimation meeting that time. So you, as a PO and as a business analyst, you keep writing your stories. You make sure your stories are ready for estimation at this day, at this time, all the time, right? Throughout the whole year. So that is what you need to keep in mind. Okay. All right. Moving on. Let's go to, let me come back to product user story grooming. Yeah. So when must this also happen? So user story grooming sessions are also activity that can happen anytime on the calendar here. From the 1st to the 12th, that's a sprint. You can schedule it anytime. Typically, grooming sessions, maybe a Thursday late afternoon or something like that, or a Thursday. It can even be morning, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. to noon. And typically you want to schedule meetings that will not, disrupt people's, lunchtime. People have to, they gotta go and eat, right? They have to go and eat. You might be incurring the wrath of people. You don't want to be incurring the wrath of people by scheduling meetings at from 12 to 1 or 11 to 12. People are getting ready to go and eat. Usually in America, corporate environment, by 11 a.m., people are going for lunch. They just got in. They just got in like 9:30 a.m. 9. They just got to work by 9 a.m. And by 10:30, people are already asking you, well, so what are you eating for lunch, right? So they're hungry, right? So you don't want to schedule meetings between lunch times. You really have to leave some time so that people can can go and eat your food, right? So grooming sessions can happen at any time, right? It can take off at any time, maybe from 4 Thursdays, or so Thursdays maybe 2 to 3 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. So grooming session, what are you doing? So when you write the stories for the first time, you bring the stories up for grooming, right? So grooming is different from estimation meeting. I want guys to keep in mind, right? Typically, grooming sessions are very different, and storytelling and estimation meetings are also very different. Grooming is when it's going to be the first point of entry where the development team will get to see the story, and then they will reshape the story, right? They will help bring the story up to a level that is going to be easy for us to estimate. And this is what I say all the time, that when stories are properly groomed, we can attain or achieve a certain level of accuracy, right? When it comes to story estimation. Because at the grooming session, you guys remember, we talk about it. This is where all the uncertainties, all the unknowns, all the risks, assumptions, sometimes stories are too big. We get to split them into two or into halves. So at this time, we bring the stories up to a level that we call definition of ready. Bring them to a level that the team or the larger audience at the storytelling estimation meeting, they can point the stories and they can estimate it. And so when grooming is done properly, because grooming is done and we've taken care of all the uncertainties and all the unknowns and other things, so now they can point it and estimate properly. So we have a certain level of accuracy. So when we say 3 is 3, because we know all that it takes or is going to take for us to be able to finish with this story, right? So imagining that there's no grooming session and you're bringing the story up for estimation, boy, let me tell you, you're going to have a lot of questions, a lot of, you might not even, sizes. You might take one story and let me tell you, there's going to be questions, flying in from left and right, coming in from all angles. and you might end up using the storytelling estimation meeting as, a grooming session, because they have a lot of questions than answers, right? They have a lot of questions than to just go ahead and size it. They don't understand it. There are so many things that are not clear to them. So why would they estimate something that does not make sense to them yet, right? So that is why grooming session is critical, foundational, and should be a precedent to the estimation. It should happen first before estimation, right? So grooming session, you schedule a time again on the calendar. The team members know it, that we have Wednesdays at 1 p.m. to 2 or 2 to 3 p.m. We have grooming sessions, and you'll bring a set of stories at this time, and then to that small, maybe close-knit audience that you will have, you guys are talking about the risks, assumptions, uncertainties, and other things, and then you say, okay, this story is done. It's now ready for estimation. So you groom the stories and then pack them, put them together for the next meeting or the next point of entry, which is going to be the estimation. So that is what grooming is about. I've talked about this in the past. This is just a recap, a refresh of whatever that I said about grooming. Let's go back quick. I know our time is running out. We have just 1 minute. Which one haven't I touched on? Sprint demo. Okay, sprint demo meeting. And what else? I think that's only one. Okay, so sprint demo. So we have a new sprint is in flight. So from February 1 to February 12 is our current sprint that is in flight. So as soon as the sprint end, right, at the 12th, we need to demo this to the internal stakeholders, right? Our operational team and whatnot, whoever the internal stakeholders are. We need to be able to demo what we have done, right? The set of features that we have developed for the sprint. So the demo session, it can happen maybe on the 16th. Typically, it needs to happen in the first 2 days of, after the sprint has ended, right? So the 15th and 16th, this is where it will happen. You have a demo session. So you schedule a time again on the calendar. Usually the Scrum Master, and then you coordinate together, and then you put something on the calendar, and then a time, 1 hour or something, you show the stakeholders, you log in, you do all those things, you click on the buttons and show them how this feature is working. And then they are all excited. They are happy that their feature is going to production, and then, everybody's happy, right? I think I didn't touch on the retro meetings and the time that it happens. So at the retro meeting, retro meeting is when, we look back to the previous sprint. So the sprint is done on the 12th. Retro meetings must happen as early as possible, right? Keep that in mind. It must happen early as possible, because we want to be able to learn the lessons from the previous sprint, so that we can apply it to the next one, right? To the future sprint. So the lessons learned and all the mistakes and other things that you guys are correcting. So typically on the first day of the sprint, of the new sprint, that's on the 15th, in the afternoon, there might be a time on the calendar where retrospective meeting is going to happen, right? The idea is that you want to learn as much as possible from the previous sprint once you kick off with a new sprint. So sometimes some people even have it in the morning. So right from the sprint planning and kickoff, they dive into their retro session, right? So that they can learn lessons from the previous sprint and whatnot, right? But the idea is that you need to have it as early as possible. So it must not go beyond the Tuesday of the new sprint that has just kicked off the previous day, right? So on the 15th or the 16th, retro meeting must happen, okay? The idea is that, again, you want to learn, you want to improve. So if you're going to improve and then you are having this day set up 19th or maybe 23rd, what lessons are you going to learn? Because the sprint is almost coming to an end, right? For the current sprint as well. So the lessons must be learned early into the new sprint that has just taken off. You guys get it, right? All right. I think our time is gone. I'm going to have 30 seconds for question. Okay. So for question, if not, then we'll take the questions on Monday. If I see that the questions are something that I need to clarify. It's already 7:02, and I need to run. And I know you guys need to run. So 30 seconds, question. I think you should be able to unmute yourself if you have one. Or you guys are all good, right? It makes sense. It is a self-explanatory, right? Good. Can I have some message? Yes, something in the chat box so I can end it. So go ahead. This makes sense. It's self-explanatory. You can also, you're welcome to go back to video and watch it, and so yes, makes sense. Okay. All right, guys. Today's Friday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all on